GM fam, it's Daito here with an update on my Season 1 Poison Imbuement Rogue. So, in the Eternal Realm, I started out playing a Necromancer, which I absolutely love, and a lot of the new aspects and Malignant Hearts look really fun for Necro, but I really wanted to make sure I chose a character for Season 1 that could take down Uber Lilith. And when it comes to that, it's hard to find a character better than in Poison Imbuement Rogue, I think. And on top of that, there's a new Malignant Heart that gives a chance for rogue attacks to proc all of their imbuements. And, I really just wanted to be like the last airbender this season. So, I went with Rogue. What you're seeing in the video right now is a Nightmare, I believe level 19 speed clear. I'm level 61 at the time, and so tier 19 is perfect because it puts the mobs at about 11 levels above my level. And, in order to optimize the experience, you always want to be killing things in nightmare dungeons that are 10 levels above you. So it feels really good. As you can see, moving in between packs is great, and the shadow step gives us great mobility, especially when we throw in this aspect that gives us movement speed while we're unstoppable, because shadow step makes us unstoppable. Yeah, it's really nice, and it's kind of cool. In this run that you're seeing, I actually got the Penitent Greaves to drop for me at the end of the dungeon. So these are going to be used in the final end game poison build for Lilith. But let me walk you through what we've got so far. We'll start with the skill tree. It's very, if not, spot on with Lucky Luciano's Poison Imbuement Rogue build for Lilith. I'll include that link to their builder in the notes or the description of this video. The only thing that I really changed is I maxed out these abilities since we're running Nightmare Dungeons, so we need a little bit extra survivability to survive the higher level mobs. Other than that, it's pretty much identical, I believe, to Lucky Luciano's build. Which, by the way, if you aren't already following them, you should definitely follow them because they're awesome. In terms of the Paragon board, nothing much to see here since we're only level 61, but also following Lucky's Paragon board. So we're starting out with the Closer glyph on the starter board, and then for the Deadly Ambush, we threw in Bane. So I will actually go over the gear because I think, while people are leveling, that's kind of the toughest thing to kind of gauge, right? How well should your character be doing at any given point based off of your gear. So you can see, for me, nothing is optimized, obviously. I'm only level 61, but I do have an aspect in every single piece. For the helm, we have the aspect Manglers that's letting us deal, potential daze effects to vulnerable targets. And in terms of the stats here, there's not much I would change besides maybe that total armor. I would change it into something that maybe gave me a little bit more offense, ideally for leveling. But other than that, maybe, I don't know, max health or even something like dexterity. This chest is really good. It's actually ancestral because I've already unlocked Torment, which was actually pretty cool. Most people, I think, attempt the capstone on tier 3 around level 60. I was level 57, and I was running with a friend who was a level 60 druid, and we were like, what the hell, let's give the capstone a try. When we got to the final boss, Eliash, I actually got one shot really quickly. My friend rezzed me, and then we ended up wiping on the first attempt, and I was like, okay, this kind of sucks. But we decided to give it another go, and I wish I recorded the video. But on the second attempt, we downed Eliash in like 10 seconds, and he was like stunned and controlled and staggered the entire fight. Largely thanks to us. By us, I mean this rogue. So it was really cool to see and kind of unexpected. But yeah, we were able to clear the capstone dungeon and unlock Torment at level 57, which is really cool with this build. We're getting extra armor here for this chest piece. It's got a ton of damage. And a little bit of damage reduction. So the only thing I might change here is, instead of that plus to damage, I don't know, maybe plus to like imbuement skills or imbuement crit or whatever the other offensive stat is that you could have on chests. I like these gloves because they're kind of like, I call them faux fists of fate. They have a little extra chance to slow on lucky hit, but obviously having crit and lucky hit on your gloves is important, and then the dexterity is good for a little extra DPS also. Just threw in this puncture aspect. It's not really critical for some extra DPS. The aspect in these pants are just kind of funny, I think. So every 45 seconds we throw down a smoke grenade that lets us dodge the first 5 attacks. It's kind of nice when you flash into the middle of a pack in a nightmare dungeon to have that kind of extra evade or whatnot. Damage reduction on pants is king. So instead of that maximum life, I might change that to another type of damage reduction. But, I kind of like maximum life too. So these pants are actually in a pretty good spot. These boots, all I really care about at this point is movement speed. So I've got the base movement speed, as well as movement speed after killing elites. And then, of course, evade charges are kind of a must for me on boots, too. And then poison and shadow resistances suck, so ideally those would be something else like, dexterity and, I don't know, all stats or something else like that. This crossbow is definitely the way to go for our kind of ranged weapon. We want crossbows because of the innate vulnerable damage that they have. And then this one's actually pretty freaking good. I almost want to say it's the nuts, except for that critical strike damage with imbued skills. If that was just generic critical strike damage, like this would be awesome. And then we're throwing in the aspect that makes our imbuement skills more potent against vulnerable targets. So it double dips on a two-handed ranged weapon. So that's the aspect we want here. In terms of the jewelry, this is okay. The amulet is all right. That willpower obviously is garbage. I'd like that to be +2 imbuement skills. And then other than that, the damage reduction is okay, but I could use something more offensive there too. And that aspect I don't think is really necessary for survivability either. It's just kind of in there because it was in my codex and I needed something. I will mention the new mechanic, which is the Malignant Hearts. And I threw, I think, the best Malignant Heart for Poison Imbuement Rogues into this Ami. So it's a Wrathful Heart, and it's the one that increases our damage over time effects based off of all the different crowd control effects that we have, especially on staggered bosses. So I wanted maximum potency from this this heart, so I threw it in the amulet so I don't have to change it very often. But this Malignant Heart makes this build super duper fun against elites and bosses. For the ring, I will mention, in jewelry in general, I like having 2 Brutal Heart slots for the Malignant items. So you can see here, I'm running the Malignant Heart that drops a shadow decoy and then explodes. And then I'm also running the Malignant Heart that's really popular, Revenge, that gives us some damage reduction or absorption that then, explodes after a short amount of time also. So I'm a huge fan, especially in Nightmare dungeons, of Malignant Hearts that have a defensive ability as well as an offensive ability. So that's why I'm kind of always going to want 2 brutal slots for my jewelry so I can run both of these things for Nightmare dungeons. Other than that, for my rings, I really want, the Dream. So that's vulnerable damage, crit damage, and then crit hit and lucky hit. And I don't have that quite yet for both of my rings, but I'm getting close to it. In terms of aspects, the stun grenades one is just kind of like a gap filler. The Twisting Blades aspect is obviously very important for this build, and so I threw it in a ring so I don't have to update it very often. And then in terms of my weapons, I've got the aspect that increases our damage whenever we're standing still. That's really helpful for bosses and elites. And the stats that we want on this are dexterity, critical strike damage, vulnerable damage, and then damage to close enemies. So we'll get there slowly but surely. And then this aspect is kind of another filler right now. I'm not going to get too worried about min-maxing my aspects until I'm well into Torment, and we're getting ancestral gear on the reg. But gosh, that's the build so far. Specializations, we're running combo points, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you haven't given Rogue a shot in Season 1, I highly recommend it. And if you do, let me know how it goes in the comments, and we'll catch you next time.